When I was a little girl, I used to have a diary. I remember it was pink and purple, Cinderella was on the front, and there was even a tiny lock to keep prying eyes out. That diary was the place that I went to with the tiniest details of my day. I was always introspective. I loved writing and sharing stories, even if it was just with myself. Looking back at that time now, and I see that I owe a large part of who I am today to that habit that I nurtured early on. That form of journaling that allowed me to document my days, process my thoughts, and express myself, even if I wasn't fully aware of it at the time. It took me a while to get back to journaling, many years in fact, but when I did, it was almost as if I reconnected with that little girl and in many ways with myself. Maybe you don't have any kind of history with journaling, maybe you've never given it any serious thought, maybe you've tried it but found that you just couldn't stick to it, or maybe you're the kind of person who buys all these gorgeous notebooks but you can never figure out a good way to fill them. Today, I want to share with you why I think everyone can benefit from some sort of journaling and discuss some of the ways that you can make it work for you. Do you ever get that feeling that something's not quite right with you, but you can't pinpoint what exactly that feeling is? It's almost as if there is an undercurrent that just won't come up to the surface. Those are low energy emotions. In our busy lives, we're often very much go, go, go. You want to make that money, you want that promotion, you want to have that relationship. And you might think to yourself that taking the time to sit and write about how you feel about any of those things will not help you to achieve them. But when you don't take the time to check in with yourself, you can completely miss or neglect certain feelings, or even deny them because you know that you might come face to face with certain uncomfortable truths. As a society, I think we've grown a lot with how we talk about and address mental health, but I still think that there's a large stigma around bringing any sort of attention to our feelings. At the first sign of discomfort, we tell ourselves to push through, be resilient, be strong, so as not to show any signs of weakness. And while resilience is a great trait to have, I do think that it's possible to be resilient but still to acknowledge when you're not okay. One of my favorite writers, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, says that you have to name a problem. Similarly, I think that you have to name your emotions and your feelings. You have to sit with them before you can be able to address them. Thanks to journaling, I have gotten to a point where I'm a lot better at identifying those low energy emotions that are swimming just below the surface, whether that's anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, sadness. There was a period in late 2021 where I was going through a particularly difficult time mentally. I had just lost my only remaining grandmother. I had graduated during the pandemic, so there was a ceremony, but I didn't attend, and I just wasn't sure what was in store for me next. I'm the kind of person who keeps things in. When I'm upset, I don't tackle my feelings head on, and I have this habit of letting them fester. I get quiet and I retreat into myself. And that's one of the things that journaling helped me realize. I saw that there were all these unaddressed emotions that I didn't feel comfortable bringing to other people because I felt that they might be a burden, or that I would be told to just suck it up and move on. That's not to say that I don't have an amazing support system of family and friends, because I absolutely do, and I'm lucky to have them. But I think sometimes we need to process things on our own before we bring them to other people, and journaling has given me a great space to do that. It's provided a safe and private environment for me to really express how I'm feeling. It's helped me to practice how to better articulate my thoughts. There's no judgment, there's no expectation for how I should explain myself, there's no need for me to filter myself, and that can be a very freeing feeling. Journaling can also be an outlet in other areas of your life. Maybe you're going through a creative rut, or you've got an important life decision to make. You'd be surprised at how just writing your thoughts down can help you to explore different solutions and come up with ideas that you hadn't thought of previously. In February of 2019, I wrote a quote in this journal from a YouTube video that I was watching. The video is titled "The Most Important Skill Nobody Taught You," and it's on the channel The Art of Improvement. I'm gonna have that video linked for you in the description. That quote reads, "The oldest philosophical wisdom in the world has one piece of advice for us: know yourself." And there is great reason for why that is. Without knowing ourselves, it's almost impossible to find a healthy way to interact with the world around us. Journaling is such a good way to learn about you. What do you like? What are your opinions on certain topics? What do you enjoy doing and why? Some of the questions that I've answered in my journaling sessions that have revealed who I am at my core include: what are your values? What do you want out of life? What do you value in a partner? What are the core beliefs that guide your life? How can you take better care of yourself? The answers to those questions shouldn't be what you think society or what other people want to hear, even if it means going against the grain. Within that self-discovery, journaling also helps you to identify certain trends and patterns in your behavior. When you have an ongoing log of your mindset on a day-to-day basis, it becomes easier for you to identify certain trends and adjust them if necessary. One pattern in my behavior that I've noticed just by looking back at old journal entries is that whenever I'm in a mindset where I feel very uncertain about something, I tend to spiral. I drop off of my routines, I start eating horribly, I spend way too much time inside and on the internet. The simple habit of getting those thoughts out of my head and onto a page so that I can see them from a different vantage point has really helped me to identify certain blind spots and improve different aspects of myself. I am a very sentimental person. I love nostalgia, even if it makes me sad sometimes. Our journals can serve as time machines that take us back into moments from the past. Beautiful places that we visited, encounters that shifted our perspectives, quotes that stopped us in our tracks. I love knowing that a few years down the line, I can look back at my old journal entries and see just how I've grown, how I'm the same, how I'm different. I have this habit in my journaling practice where I write down my currentlies, so what I'm currently into, what I'm currently reading, what I'm listening to, foods that I'm enjoying. I think it's really nice to be able to have that intimate look into how your interests and tastes change over time. Now, it's one thing to be aware of all the benefits of journaling, but how can you actually make it into a practice that is sustainable for you? One of the first things I would encourage you to do is to find a medium that works for you and that you enjoy. One of the most common misconceptions I think that people have about journaling is that it needs to look a certain way, that you need to have, these fancy notebooks and stationery, and that you need to get up at 5 in the morning to do it, or that you have to do it before you go to bed. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are no rules, and once you realize that, it becomes so much easier to do because you've removed all that pressure that you put on yourself. You could use an actual physical journal and do it the traditional way, and if you do, I encourage you to find a nice notebook or pen that you actually enjoy using. Maybe you take the digital route and use the Notes app on your phone, or a dedicated journaling app like Day One, which I've actually spoken about a few times on the channel. Or maybe you just have a few sticky notes that you put on your mirror with some daily affirmations. Whatever it is, there is no right or wrong format or medium. Similarly, I don't have a specific time for when I journal, and you don't need to feel like you need to have one either. As a matter of fact, it's become a very instinctual thing for me. I will feel when I need to write, and if the opportunity is there and if I'm able to do it in the moment, then I will. I encourage you to journal based on what you feel you need. The second thing I would suggest is to create an environment that is conducive to journaling. Believe it or not, your environment has a lot to do with how you're able to sustain new habits. You might find that you need to put on some music in the background, or that you need complete silence. Maybe you like to have your favorite beverage or snack nearby when you're doing it, or maybe light a candle. Whatever it is that you need to do to set the tone for your journaling practice. And it's not just about the physical environment you create. It's also about your mental environment. You have to allow yourself to be completely vulnerable. When you journal as though you've got somebody looking over your shoulder, judging every single thing that you write, you're not being fully transparent with yourself. You're going to find that you filter yourself, and that defeats the purpose. Another tip that I would give you is to experiment with different types of journaling, and there are so many. You can do morning pages. Morning pages is a type of journaling that was created by Julia Cameron, who is the author of The Artist's Way. It is a stream of consciousness type of journaling that you do the first thing in the morning when you wake up. You don't think too deeply about what you're going to write. You just say what comes to your mind and you allow your thoughts to guide themselves. You can also have a commonplace book. Now, when I started journaling again in 2018, I kept a commonplace book. Commonplacing is a type of journaling that goes way back. One of my favorite books, Meditations by the philosopher Marcus Aurelius, actually started as a commonplace book. It's essentially a place where you collect and store bits of information and wisdom that you'd like to be able to refer to later. I would write song lyrics or quotes that resonated with me, advice from people I looked up to, important takeaways from books that I was reading. These days, my commonplacing habit is digital, but it's so nice to know that I have this physical representation of the wisdom that I gathered many years ago. You could also have a travel journal, and I keep one myself. As you can see, this is that journal. It's gotten quite thick. This is where I keep different mementos and reflections about different trips that I've been on. It's amazing being able to revisit all of these beautiful places I've seen, no matter where I am. And of course, there are many others that I haven't really touched on. There are food journals, bullet journals, reading journals, gratitude journals. There is something for everyone. Sometimes you do need a bit of an extra push and inspiration when it comes to what to write, and I think that's where journaling prompts come in. There are so many great resources for discovering prompts about many different topics, whether that's self-discovery or relationships. You can even do monthly journaling challenges. One of my favorite places to look for prompts is Pinterest, but of course you could just do a simple Google search and come up with many different ones. Even if you don't think that you can make journaling a regular practice in your life, I highly recommend that you at least give it a try. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and if you're into topics like this, maybe check out one of the videos that I did recently on mindful morning habits, one of which is journaling. I'm gonna have that video linked somewhere here. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.